The night before the birthday arrived like a storm without thunder, heavy and suffocating, pressing against a man who had already lost too much. He sat alone at a kitchen table scattered with unpaid bills and a half-wrapped gift, staring at a photo of his daughter taped to the fridge, smiling with a gap where a tooth had fallen out, a smile he was terrified of breaking. He had promised her one perfect day, and promises were dangerous things when life had taught him how easily they could shatter. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel if they believe in kindness, second chances. Your support keeps stories like this alive, and you never know who might need to hear one today. He was a widower long before he was ready to be, a father learning how to braid hair with shaking hands, a man who measured time in school pickups and bedtime stories, because that was all that still made sense. His daughter, small and bright and impossibly hopeful, had been counting down the days to her birthday like it was a holiday for the entire world. She wanted balloons, a cake with too many candles, and most of all, she wanted a family the way her classmates talked about it, with two parents standing side by side. She had asked gently, with the careful tone of a child who already understood pain, whether her father could bring a wife to her party, just for that day. The request landed like a blade wrapped in silk, soft on the outside, devastating underneath. He had tried to explain life to her in ways that did not sound like excuses, but children hear the absence even when adults hide it behind reason. At night, after she slept, he replayed her question again and again, feeling like a failure not because he was alone, but because he could not protect her from noticing it. So he did something reckless, something desperate, something that came from a place of love twisted by fear. He posted an ad online, simple and almost embarrassing, asking for a woman willing to pretend to be his wife for one afternoon, promising honesty, boundaries, and payment he could barely afford. The replies were mostly cruel jokes or empty offers that smelled of trouble, and each one made him regret the idea more. Then there was one message that felt different, quiet and respectful, written with care instead of curiosity. The woman explained she was between jobs, had once dreamed of acting but now volunteered at shelters, and believed people sometimes needed small lies to survive big truths. She did not ask many questions, and she did not negotiate the money. She just said she would help if it was truly for a child. When they met, there were no sparks or cinematic tension, only two tired souls measuring each other carefully. She wore simple clothes, her eyes carrying a sadness that felt familiar, and when she smiled, it was like sunlight breaking through a long winter. He explained the rules again, and she nodded, listening in a way that made him feel seen rather than judged. They agreed it was just for the birthday, nothing more, a short performance that would end with cake crumbs and polite goodbyes. The morning of the party dawned bright and unforgiving, the kind of day that made promises feel heavier. Balloons bobbed against the porch railing, and neighbors arrived with wrapped boxes and curious glances. His daughter twirled in a dress chosen weeks before, her excitement so intense it almost hurt to watch. When the woman arrived, she did not overdo it. She stepped into the house like she belonged there, moving gently, complimenting the decorations, kneeling to the child's level with warmth that felt natural rather than rehearsed. In that moment, something shifted, subtle but powerful, like a lock clicking open. Throughout the afternoon, she played the role with astonishing grace. She helped serve food, laughed at the right moments, and placed a steady hand on his shoulder in ways that soothed more than they convinced. His daughter watched them with wide eyes, absorbing every small gesture, and her smile grew freer with each passing hour. The man found himself breathing easier, the knot in his chest loosening as he realized this single day might actually be enough. But life has a way of stretching moments when they matter most. As the candles were lit and the room filled with song, he saw tears gather in the woman's eyes, not from the sweetness of the scene alone, but from something deeper. Later, as the guests left and dusk settled, his daughter hugged her tightly, whispering thanks that felt far too big for a child her age. The woman smiled through tears and said she was glad to help, but her voice trembled with emotion she did not try to hide. The agreement was supposed to end there, clean and uncomplicated, but the days that followed were anything but. His daughter asked about her constantly, weaving her into stories at school, drawing pictures that included her without hesitation. The man told himself it was temporary, a child's lingering joy from a special day, but he felt it too. The house felt emptier without her calm presence, quieter in a way that echoed. They met again to return a borrowed item, and that turned into coffee, and that turned into shared silences that felt comfortable instead of awkward. He learned about her past, about losses that had carved hollows in her life, about how she had learned to give love without expecting it to stay. She learned about his fears, about the nights he lay awake worrying he was not enough, about the guilt of even considering happiness again. There were no promises, only honesty, and somehow that was more intimate than any vow. As weeks passed, their connection deepened, not through grand gestures, but through ordinary moments. She helped with homework, not as a replacement, but as a presence. She attended a school event and stood slightly to the side, never pushing, always respectful. His daughter flourished under the gentle expansion of her world, laughing more, sleeping better, her eyes brighter with the security of knowing she was loved by more than one heart. The man struggled with the growing realization that what began as a lie had become something painfully real. He feared crossing a line, feared hurting his daughter if it all disappeared again, feared allowing himself to want something that life had already taken once. The woman felt the same tension, aware of the fragile balance they walked, terrified of becoming a ghost in a child's life if she stepped too close. The turning point came quietly, on an ordinary evening when the power went out and they sat by candlelight, listening to the rain. His daughter fell asleep between them on the couch, her small hand gripping both of theirs, as if anchoring them together. In that stillness, the truth settled without words. They were no longer pretending. They were choosing, carefully and bravely, to show up. Time tested them, as it always does. There were misunderstandings, moments of doubt, and the heavy shadow of the past that sometimes crept in uninvited. But they faced these challenges not with drama, but with patience, learning how to build trust where none had existed before. The woman proved she was not there to replace anyone, only to add herself honestly to what already was. The man learned that loving again did not erase loss, but honored it by refusing to let grief be the final chapter. The second birthday arrived quietly, without desperation, without lies. This time there was no ad, no contract, no pretending. The woman stood beside him not as a hired role, but as someone who had chosen them every day since that first leap of faith. His daughter blew out her candles with a wish she did not share, but her eyes said everything. The house was fuller now, not louder, just warmer, like a place that had learned how to heal. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps spread messages of hope to people who might be waiting for their own second chance. Just before the night ended, the man looked around at the life he almost missed because of fear, and gratitude washed over him like a tide. He realized that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is ask for help, even in the form of a small, imperfect lie that opens the door to a bigger truth. The woman had not just played a part, she had reminded them all that love could arrive in unexpected ways and still be real. Before the story ends, please comment below and share what this story made you feel, or what kindness has changed your life. Your words matter more than you know. In the end, it was never about a fake wife or a single birthday. It was about a broken family daring to believe that happiness could be rebuilt, not by pretending the past did not exist, but by allowing the future to be written with courage, compassion, and an open heart.